At 25, I was barely making ends meet as a school teacher, grading papers late into the night and dreaming of something more. Today, I run my own thriving business, earning 5 times what I used to. How did I make the leap from classroom to boardroom? This is my story, raw, real, and full of unexpected turns. You don't want to miss this. Before we dive in, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps us share inspiring stories like this one. Teaching was supposed to be my dream, a profession where I could shape young minds and make a difference. When I got my first job at a small elementary school, I was filled with hope and enthusiasm. I spent hours crafting creative lesson plans, decorating my classroom, and finding ways to make learning fun for my students. Seeing their eyes light up when they understood something new brought me joy. But as the months turned into years, the cracks in my dream began to show. My salary was barely enough to scrape by. After paying rent, utilities, and student loan payments, there was little left for anything else. The promise of financial stability that I had once associated with being a teacher turned out to be just that, a promise. Then came the challenges I hadn't anticipated. Beyond teaching, I was responsible for grading hundreds of assignments, organizing events, and attending endless meetings. My weekends were consumed by lesson planning and catching up on work I couldn't finish during the week. I loved my students, but the demands of the job often left me feeling burnt out and undervalued. There were moments of heartbreak too, like the time a student confided in me about their struggles at home, and I realized there was so little I could do to help. Or the days when I saw the potential in a child being overshadowed by systemic issues beyond my control. These moments reminded me why I became a teacher, but they also deepened the ache inside me. My social life was non-existent. Friends would invite me out, but I'd decline, too exhausted to even think about going. When I did go, I couldn't afford to splurge on dinners or drinks. Birthdays, weddings, and holidays became sources of stress because I had to carefully budget every penny. The final straw came during one particularly grueling month. It was parent-teacher conference season, and I was working late every night. I was sleep-deprived, overwhelmed, and emotionally drained. On payday, I opened my paycheck and stared at the amount. How could I keep giving so much of myself for so little in return? I found myself crying in my car after work one evening. For the first time, I asked myself a terrifying question. Is this really what the rest of my life will look like? As much as I loved teaching, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was meant for something more, something that allowed me to live, not just survive. Looking back, those years in the classroom taught me resilience and creativity, but they also revealed a harsh truth. Passion alone wasn't enough to sustain me. Something had to change, and deep down, I knew I was the only one who could make that change happen. The turning point came during a parent-teacher conference. A father who ran his own business told me, "You're too smart to be stuck here. Have you ever thought of doing something bigger?" His words hit me hard. I wasn't just frustrated, I was unfulfilled. That night, I stared at my paycheck and realized I couldn't live like this anymore. I didn't want to spend the next 30 years stuck in a cycle of mediocrity. The decision to leave teaching was one of the hardest choices I've ever made. Teaching wasn't just a job for me, it was a calling, a part of my identity. But as much as I loved my students and the moments of connection in the classroom, I couldn't ignore the constant exhaustion, the financial struggles, and the nagging feeling that my life was slipping away without any real progress. It started with a small seed of curiosity. On one particularly draining evening, after finishing hours of grading, I stumbled upon a YouTube video titled "How I Quit My Job and Built a Six-Figure Business." At first, I rolled my eyes. Surely this was just another get-rich-quick scheme. But something about the speaker's story struck a chord. She talked about leaving a job she loved, but that didn't love her back, and how she'd found the courage to pursue her passion for creating something of her own. I began watching more videos, reading blogs, and listening to podcasts about entrepreneurship. The more I learned, the more a spark ignited within me. Could I really build something of my own? Could I create a life where I didn't have to choose between financial stability and doing work I was passionate about? Still, doubts plagued me. I didn't have a business degree or a background in finance. What could a 25-year-old teacher possibly offer the world that people would pay for? Every time I thought about making the leap, fear gripped me. What if I failed? What if I ended up worse off than before? But the fear of staying stuck was even greater. I began to imagine myself at 35, still living paycheck to paycheck, still sacrificing my health and happiness for a system that gave so little in return. That vision terrified me. So I made a plan. I didn't quit teaching right away. It was too risky. Instead, I started small. I spent nights and weekends researching business ideas and brainstorming what I could offer. I thought about my skills, organization, communication, creativity, and how they could translate into something marketable. I decided to start with something I was already good at, tutoring. I'd always been able to connect with students on a one-on-one level, helping them overcome struggles and achieve their goals. But instead of just tutoring locally, I explored the idea of building an online tutoring platform. I could reach more students, work from anywhere, and charge competitive rates. Setting up my first steps felt exhilarating but overwhelming. I didn't know where to start, so I taught myself everything from scratch. I learned how to create a website, market my services on social media, and manage my finances. Every late-night Google search, every tutorial, and every moment of trial and error was a step closer to my dream. The hardest part was managing my time. My days were spent teaching, my evenings tutoring, and my nights building my fledgling business. I was constantly exhausted, but for the first time in years, I felt like I was working towards something that mattered, something that was mine. Eventually, I landed my first online client, a high school student struggling with math. I poured my heart into helping them succeed, and when they aced their next test, they told their friends about me. Slowly, word spread. Each new client boosted my confidence. I wasn't just helping students, I was proving to myself that I could do this, that I could take control of my life and build a future that didn't rely on someone else's rules. Taking the leap didn't happen all at once. It was a series of small, brave steps that pushed me out of my comfort zone and into the unknown. It was terrifying, but it was also the most alive I'd felt in years. I was no longer waiting for change. I was creating it. Balancing teaching and running a side hustle was exhausting. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to package orders, work all day, and then spend my evenings designing new products. Some days I felt like giving up. My friends thought I was crazy, and my parents were skeptical, but I kept going. Slowly but surely, my sales grew. I reinvested every penny into improving my website, ordering better materials, and advertising. After a year of relentless effort, I finally hit a breakthrough. One of my journals went viral on social media, and sales exploded overnight. Suddenly, I was making more money in a month than I'd earned in an entire year of teaching. That was the moment I knew it was time to take the leap. I resigned from my teaching job and went all in on my business. Running a business wasn't easy. There were days when I doubted myself, faced setbacks, and made mistakes. But every challenge taught me something new. I hired a small team, expanded my product line, and learned how to scale my operations. Today, my business ships to customers all over the world. I've built a community of people who love and support my work, and I finally feel like I'm living my purpose. At 25, I was a teacher living paycheck to paycheck. Now I'm a business owner with financial freedom and a life I love. My journey wasn't easy, but it was worth every sleepless night and every hard decision. If I can go from a struggling teacher to a successful business owner, so can you. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. See you next time.